The bird was a criminal. It was a small, unassuming sparrow, but in the sterile, controlled world of Alcatraz, it was guilty of the highest crime. It was free. It would land on the windowsill of the prison infirmary, a tiny, feathered speck of life against the gray, oppressive stone, and one man, a brutal killer and one of Alcatraz's most feared inmates, Robert Stroud, would watch it. For hours, Stroud, a man known for his violent temper and utter lack of empathy, would sit in his cell, his eyes fixed on the small creature. A young guard, fresh on the job, saw this and sneered to his superior. "Look at the killer, gone soft over little bird." The older guard watched Stroud for a long moment, his face grim. "He's not going soft, kid," he said, his voice low. "He's learning. And that's a damn sight more dangerous." Robert Stroud, the Birdman of Alcatraz, was about to prove that even in the most secure prison on earth, the human mind could find a way to fly, and that a single fragile life could become the most powerful tool of defiance. Alcatraz in the 1940s was a machine for breaking men. Its purpose was not rehabilitation. It was isolation. The strict rule of silence, the monotonous routine, the constant soul-crushing grate was all designed to strip a man of his identity. Robert Stroud was considered a lost cause, a man so violent and unpredictable he was kept in permanent segregation. He was a prisoner's prisoner, a man locked in a box within a box. His world was a 6-by-foot concrete cell. He had no human contact beyond the guards who brought his meals. He was expected to go mad from the solitude, and for a time he nearly did. The silence was a living thing, a weight that pressed down on him, filled with the ghosts of his own violent past. Then, during a fierce storm that lashed the island, he found it. A small, injured sparrow had been blown into the recreation yard, its wing broken. The guards were about to sweep it away. Another piece of insignificant debris. But Stroud, in a moment that would change his life, intervened. He scooped up the tiny, trembling bird. "Give it to me," he said to the guard, his voice, usually a low growl, now something different. "I can fix it." Intrigued by this bizarre break in character from their most notorious inmate, and perhaps seeing it as a harmless distraction, the warden agreed. Stroud took the sparrow back to his cell. He had nothing, no medicine, no tools, but he had a brilliant, obsessive mind, and for the first time in years, he had a purpose beyond his own rage. He fashioned a splint for the bird's wing from a matchstick. He chewed his own bread into a soft paste to feed it. He became a self-taught veterinarian, a nurse to a creature that weighed less than an ounce. He named the bird Charlie. As Stroud cared for the bird, a strange and profound transformation began. The man who had never shown empathy for another human being poured all of his focus and intelligence into this fragile life. The act of caring for something so helpless began to chip away at the stone walls he had built around his own heart. Against all odds, Charlie's wing healed. The day came when Stroud knew he had to let the bird go. He held it up to the bars of his cell window, his hand open. Charlie chirped once, looked at Stroud, and then launched into the sky, a free creature returning to a free world. Stroud watched until the bird was a tiny speck, and for the first time since he was a child, he felt a tear roll down his cheek. He had expected to feel a loss. Instead, he felt a connection. A part of him was now flying free over the walls of Alcatraz. The story could have ended there. But it was only the beginning. Charlie returned. The next day, he was back at the windowsill, and he had brought a friend. Soon, Stroud's cell became a secret, impossible aviary. He began to study the birds with a scientific rigor. He requested books from the prison library books on anatomy, biology, and ornithology. The guards, amused, let him. They saw it as a harmless hobby. But Stroud was not building a hobby. He was building a kingdom. He began to breed canaries, constructing intricate cages from scavenged materials like wooden crates and wire. He became an expert in avian diseases, concocting his own medicines and remedies from ingredients he found in the prison kitchen and infirmary. His lonely cell, a place of punishment, was transformed into a laboratory and a sanctuary filled with the sound of birdsong. The warden, however, began to see the danger. Stroud wasn't just playing with birds. He was creating his own world, a world with its own rules, its own life and death, right in the heart of the warden's perfectly controlled machine. Stroud was becoming a symbol. The Birdman was a legend, a man who had found a unique and powerful way to be free, even within the walls of Alcatraz. He was no longer just prisoner of 594. He was a scientist, an author, a man with a purpose. His research became so advanced that he began writing articles for ornithology magazines, smuggling them out with the help of a sympathetic guard. He discovered new diseases and developed cures. His work respected by scientists on the outside who had no idea they were corresponding with a convicted killer in America's toughest prison. The warden saw this as the ultimate act of defiance. Stroud wasn't just ignoring the prison's rules. He was transcending them. He ordered that the birds be removed. "This is a penitentiary," he declared. Not a pet store. Stroud was faced with a choice. Give up his birds, the only thing that gave his life meaning, or fight back. He used the only weapon he had, his intellect. He began a massive letter-writing campaign, smuggling out pleas to bird-loving societies, civil liberties groups, and the public. He presented himself not as a killer, but as a dedicated scientist whose vital research was being threatened by a heartless bureaucracy. The story of the Birdman of Alcatraz became a national sensation. The public was captivated by the image of this brutal killer transformed by the love of his birds. Petitions with thousands of signatures flooded the Bureau of Prisons. The warden was caught in a public relations nightmare. He had inadvertently made his most infamous inmate a beloved public figure. Forced by public pressure, the authorities relented. Stroud was allowed to keep his birds. He had the win. He had fought the system, not with violence, but with the power of a story and the unexpected empathy of a nation. But his victory was a gilded one. He was transferred from Alcatraz to another federal prison, a medical facility. He was given a bigger cell, better equipment, a true laboratory for his work. But the authorities, in their final, subtle act of cruelty, did not allow him to take his birds with him. He spent the last years of his life in a state-of-the-art lab, surrounded by the tools of his passion, but completely and utterly alone. He had won the war for his science, but lost the very creatures that had sparked his redemption. The story of Robert Stroud, the Birdman of Alcatraz, is a complex and haunting tale of a man's search for meaning in the most desolate of places. It proves that a cage cannot hold a mind that has learned to fly, and that the most profound transformations can begin with the smallest and most fragile of lives. If this incredible true story of an impossible connection moved you, please show your support by hitting that LIKE button. Subscribe and ring the notification bell for more true stories of the human spirit's strange and powerful resilience. Now, we have a question for you. Do you believe a person can truly change their fundamental nature? Or do our past actions define us forever? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching.